The future is a foreign land. That band seems as if they're able to record a decent song once every 2 years. Like, you get, like, kind of like one or two. That wasn't one of them. Like, this just was not very good at all. I just don't personally hear this. Let me see if we can get this. His voice isn't great. Like, it's just not. Now, plenty of artists haven't been to...
Though on 62, heading westbound, approaching Middle Branch. In the Canton Traffic Center, I'm Pat Butler.
This report is sponsored by...
They sounded that online at WRQK.com. You can reach out to the program today using the microphone talkback button, that on iHeartRadio, or you can text the studio at 330-450-7625. And of course, social media dominates everything these days. Find me there at The Stansberry Show. Got a big show planned for you today, including at 9 o'clock. We'll take a look at the Massillon Tigers and their ring ceremony. The players are about to get their hardware. We'll take a look at that ceremony, give you the details on that. We'll spend part of the 9 o'clock hour doing that. We're going to have to talk about The Office a little bit today. Not the television show, but your office, my office, everybody's office. The 4-day work week seems to be taking off all over the world, including here in the United States in certain places. There's one country going the other way. As more and more people are looking to go to a 4-day work week, Greece is actually looking to go to 6-day work weeks. They're not looking to do it, they're doing it. It's starting this year. We'll get to what Greece is doing, why it might be better than the 4-day work week, why some of you may be willing to raise your hand and go, oh, no, I'll work 6 days a week for that. You give me that, I'll do that. And we'll get to those numbers. We'll do that coming up later in the program. Also going to have to talk a little Lakers, as J.J. Redick was introduced to the media and the Lakers fan base as the head coach yesterday. He swore in that press conference more than once. People are upset about it. This, again, seems like one of these generational things where Gen Z's like, get over it, it's a word, it's not that big of a deal. And the older generation is like, act like you've been there before. There's a difference between practice, there's a difference between on the, on the sideline during the game, there's a difference in those things. Versus when you got the suit on and you're addressing the media and you're supposed to be the adult at the room. I can see both sides of this argument, and I'm going to have to talk about how I can be a little hypocritical when it comes to issues like this. Because my initial reaction when I saw the video yesterday was like, oh, that doesn't come off.
Like I said, I got to get gas.
It doesn't come off.
I'll just get
However,
something while I'm
there
in
are
there.
people who will write in here every single day to me to complain about a phrase I use that people think is technically you're not allowed to use it on the radio. You are. But there's a phrase I use all the time that people, honestly, some lifelong listeners have begged me to stop using. And for some reason, I dig my heels in and I always tell them, I'm normally, when somebody writes in and says, hey man, what about this? Or hey, can we work on this? I'll normally be like, oh, that's a halfway decent enough.
You didn't kiss me, you didn't hug me.
This is a complaint I get all the time that for some reason I always write right back and go, screw you, dude, you don't have to leave.
No, you're not.
I literally tell people to leave over it, and I probably should, so we'll address J.J. Redick and my issues as well, using phrasing that maybe you shouldn't when you're using a wide access microphone. So we'll get to J.J. Redick. We'll spend part of the 8 o'clock hour doing that. Also, it being summer, this is when a lot of you head out and take your vacation. I have said once upon a time that one of my least favorite things about being alive is knowing for sure that I'm not going to get to see every locale that I want. Apparently, other people feel this way too. So what some people are looking to do is hit a destination dupe. This is apparently you're looking to travel internationally. You don't think you can afford that, or you don't have the time off in order to be able to go do it. So what they're doing is looking for similar locations here in the United States to cheap out, to help save some money on a vacation, and still get what you're looking for out of those locations you see online. It's actually a pretty decent way to make a concession in your life, to still get to see something new, still get to travel a little bit, but maybe not necessarily have to fly all the way around the world. I think traveling more is something we should all be doing more. Now, you don't have the time, you don't have the money, and nor do I. I don't even go to Vegas to see my family enough, right? So, like, none of us are traveling enough. But apparently, destination dupes are all the rage online. When I saw this, I was like, yeah, I got to tell you, I kind of want to go there. And if I can't go there, maybe I would substitute it for that. So we'll give you some traveling substitutions. We'll spend part of the 7 o'clock hour doing that here. What we should also talk about a couple of times this morning is the Guardians. I mean, they're on a tear. I think it's 7 in a row now. They went 10-8 in Baltimore on the road yesterday. Jose Ramirez hits yet another home run. He is now on the home run leader list for the Guardians, number, I believe, 3 in franchise history for home runs. Jose Ramirez, honestly, at this point, is a little underrated, and I mean not nationally, I mean locally. People love him. He's talked about a little, but this guy gave up money to stay. When his wife was pregnant, getting ready to have his baby, he was like, get us back to Cleveland. I want the kid born there. And beyond all of that, he's lights out a fantastic
They're having music
just
on the square
so good for
this
that
weekend.
Organization. So
Saturday.
good for the city. And now third all-time in franchise history for home runs as the Guardians
You
win
wanna go down there
10-8
for a
over
little bit
Baltimore
Saturday
yesterday.
whenever
They'll
we
play
get,
again tonight,
whenever I get off
6:35.
work.
By the way, I'm going to keep digging my heels on this until it's no longer true. Oh man, Guardians
Starts at 1, but it goes till 10.
Stupid, gonna hire Stephen Vogt, never even done it.
Turn on my headset again.
Things look to be like they're going pretty well, no? I always laughed at he's never even been a baseball manager before, how dare you give him this. And I'm not looking to start a war with any of you this morning, but I laugh at it because people will say this. We need an outsider to take over the country and shake it up. If you want somebody with no experience whatsoever to run the country, I'm sorry. I think a guy who's never been a baseball manager before, but has at least worked in baseball, is not necessarily the worst hire of all
That
time.
guy.
Should let you know the details
Yeah,
of
it's
this.
Mike.
The Stansbury Cup, July 24th, our golf outing. That at Raintree Golf and Event Center. Get your team signed up today. That at WRQK.com. Now, I've been asked a lot about twosomes and foursomes. We'll take both. We may end up pairing you up, and that might be fine. I've had a couple of singles reach out. Yeah, we can get you paired up. We can get you grouped up and get you out there. I think last year, a couple of singles ended up playing with me. So that might be what happens. You can get yourself signed up and your team today. That at WRQK.com. All right, I've been known to gamble a little. I'm not necessarily a big table game player, like a little pie gow occasionally, and maybe some 3-card poker. Some casinos might call that let it ride. I like those 2 games. I'm not necessarily into blackjack. Craps can be fun. I don't really understand it as well as I should if I'm going to wager a lot of money on it. My brother tries to teach me it. It's one of his games he likes. But I'm more into the sports gambling. But my brother's lived in Las Vegas 30 years, and so I've been out there plenty of times, and I have gambled plenty. So my algorithm shows me stuff that I have looked at and read and searched for or commented on, just like yours will. So this story came across my timeline the other day, and I'm not sure you maybe have seen it, as it was out of Singapore. And apparently what had happened here is a man had won a pretty significant jackpot. He was at a casino that was operated by Las Vegas Sands. That's a Las Vegas-based gaming and resort company, obviously. He was at the Marina Bay Sands Casino in Singapore. Apparently, this man won a jackpot that was worth $4 million. That's in U.S. money. And apparently, he gets really excited by that. And I would imagine so. Now, what I want to say is, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I wouldn't necessarily, although if you're playing an... the bells and whistles are all going to go off. Everybody's going to know. Because my point was going to be like, I might be careful with that. I don't think you want everybody in the casino to know what's going on with you. But once the bells and whistles and the confetti falls from the sky and all that, and because the casino's looking to celebrate the fact that you won. Because what they're hoping is that everybody else on the floor sees everything go and they go, oh, it can happen. And then you still sit there and continue to do it. So you think this man's life is going to be on easy street because he just walked away with $4 million US after winning a jackpot in a casino. This again in Singapore. The problem is he started to jump up and down. He was celebrating. And then he fell into cardiac arrest. The man died on the casino floor. Imagine that. I don't want to go at all, right? There's no right way to go. I mean, right after a hot two, maybe that might be not be a terrible way to go, but like most ways you don't necessarily want to go, right? And money is important, right? There's a reason why people wager. They're trying to double up their money. They're also trying to waste some of their time too. That's the thing. But this guy thinks he hit the thing now that makes it possible for him not to have to go to work. He can probably take care of his kids and his wife or whatever the thing is. Whatever it is you want to put the money.
Put this water in the
man just died.
You know, like
of cardiac
this.
arrest.
Here,
I'm waiting for the arguments now.
Can you pull it
you
down?
shouldn't be able to win that much money and wager that much money in a casino because look what can happen to the human body. And oh my God, and if you really care about people, and oh my God, the predatory terms of gambling in a casino. Next, film at 11, right? And it's going to be some of that for sure. For sure. That is really unlucky, man. Now, here's what I will say. Not that this makes up for him dying, because I don't think it will, especially for his family. I don't think I've probably ever had the level of happiness that man got while winning $4 million ever in my life.
Sweetheart, how much
Ever.
all you spend on
I've been happy
gas
plenty of times. I've had plenty of joy in my life.
2 weeks.
Getting into the radio industry that I wanted more than anything in the world made me very, very happy. Getting a second chance to come down here to Canton to do this job again made me very happy and thankful. I don't know if I was as happy as I would have been had I won $4 million. So the point I'm making is, he died right after what I would assume, outside the birth of your children, would be the happiest day of your life, right? Probably not the worst time to die. Plenty of other gamblers die in a worse fashion, like this. Research by the Gambling Commission found that 5% of betting addicts, now again, that's not all people who bet, but betting addicts. Research by the Gambling Commission found that 5% of betting addicts in a study tried to kill themselves over a year. The Daily Mail had reported in January of 2020 that about 500 people die each year in the UK from gambling-related suicides. This is what a lot of people were worried about with ushering in sports gambling on the phone, right? And more people have been worried about this, opening casinos in more cities. It used to just be in this country. It was kind of just set in like, okay, Nevada, there's a couple of places you could do it, Reno and Vegas, a few other cities. And then New Jersey, obviously, with Atlantic City. But barring that, if you wanted to gamble, you had to have a bookie or you had to do something like that. And people were worried about that. It's one of the least surprising addictions that leads to suicide ever, if you ask me. The thing about getting high is, once you got high, you forgot about how bad your life was. That's why you're going to get high again. The thing about gambling is, you don't forget. And it's money. You need it. And it's going to make you feel, this word is, it's essentially what you are because you lost. It's going to make you feel like a loser. And when you don't have enough money to live, that's going to feel like there's no way to escape this. So, of course, people are going to look at the option of suicide as a way out on that. I'd rather be the guy that won $4 million and died over cardiac arrest than losing all my money and then feeling as if I need to take my own life. 330-450-7625 to text your studio. Also at 8 a.m., we'll take a look at J.J. Redick and his use of profanity while being introduced as the Lakers head coach. He's also been accused of using another word. He is denying that one. We'll get to it all coming up at 8. I'm going to have to expose myself in that conversation a little bit as well. We will have to get to that at 8 o'clock. If you listen to the show a lot, you probably heard me talk about this at least once, twice, maybe 3 times before. I don't necessarily think I agree with it, but I have said I think we are on a collision course with Universal Basic Income, UBI. Now, for anybody that does not know what Universal Basic Income is, the idea is that what we would do is give humans the necessary amount of money to cover basic living. And I think we're headed towards this. I don't necessarily love it because once you're relying on them to pay your bills, they can now decide, well, dude, look, we can keep you alive, but you don't get to live in that house, though. You got to live in this building over here. You got to we're moving everybody into, tall. We don't want houses spread out. We want them, reach in the sky. And there's already buildings like that all around the world, where some of these systems are being modeled after. So it's not conspiracy. It's literally a thing that they're looking into. But I've said, I don't know how we're going to keep erasing jobs, keep putting people on the planet, and still have stuff for everybody to do. I don't understand how that's going to be a thing. Now, maybe it's just as simple as I don't understand. That could be. Why am I bringing it up today? Well, because some cities in the country have implemented universal basic income programs. These are what are called pilot programs, which meaning not everybody in that city got it. What they did is they took some citizens and kind of figured out, let's try this on a small scale and see if it works. So what we found out, I'm pulling from yahoo.com, by the way.
Sweetheart,
they're relying on business insight. That Denver
I also have a gut
had
memory.
given people who were experiencing homelessness,
like something
like how we have to say all that kind of stuff. They were
maybe
homeless
because
for crying out
I'm
loud.
lack of
But Denver gave some homeless people $1,000
nutrients
a month.
on my body. I'm lack of vitamins.
Now people get up in
I
arms
cannot
about these
eat
kinds of
the
things
fruits. I cannot eat the
because the
vegetables every
assumption is
day. The
people
same
are
as
just going to
what I
take the
was
money and not do anything.
before.
Some people that will be true, for sure.
I'm always skip the food.
This sounds like it's encouraging to me
breakfast.
as
I
a
don't have
year later,
my
after
breakfast, my
giving
lunch,
some
my
homeless
dinner,
people
just the same.
$1,000 a month, this,
So, it's just
45% of those
weird,
people, 45 secured houses, if this could be one of those situations. The pilot program provided direct cash payments to over 800
I
Colorado.
need to increase my diet.
Like Jeroen Laws had been living in his car in a restaurant parking lot near downtown Denver. He worked there as a cook until 2020
I feel like my brain
and
is
only had $400 a month left after paying bills and child support. So he was working and was still
but
living
what
in
I
his
mean
car.
is, like, I need a vitamin.
So the 51-year-old would occasionally spend part of his paycheck on weekend stays at like a cheap hotel.
for the brain. Like,
At least then he could have his kids come visit. He was struggling to afford food, clothes, and medicine. And as it does sound like that would be decision-based, not necessarily just changed, when the Denver Basic Income Project had been rolled out. It allowed him to secure a temporary apartment with furniture, spend more time with his children, and find a better paying job. Quote, I had questioned myself if I was going to be a good father to my children because I was suffering. When I got accepted, it had changed my life. End quote.
I almost hit a deer yesterday.
Pilot, which first started its payments in the fall of 2022. I believe you and I had that conversation when it happened.
You know how
it focused
we
on
go left
800
at the fork in the road
again,
instead of
people
right.
living in cars, temporary shelters in the outdoors, or
I
other
went left.
non-fixed living situations.
And
Participants like him were given direct cash payments, no strings attached whatsoever, and could spend the money on whatever they needed. Apparently, they released their project's one-year report on June 18th, showing that 45%.
Anyway, there was a hill on this side of the road, and like a line of trees, like right alongside the road. And I saw the deer running down the hill, like really booking
And the
it.
report estimates that the reduction in public services again saved around $589,000.
It's a good thing I saw him because I slowed down right before the trees because I was.
I'm going to learn all these things.
And just as I was getting ready to pass the trees up, he crossed over in front of me.
How many Monets you think are out there? There ain't that many, right? Like, there ain't that many. yes, talent is dispersed evenly and opportunity not always is. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. But come on. Like, we know some of those people when you start talking about, payments that we made during the COVID. What happened? TVs were flying off shelves. But that's because they were giving money to people who were still working every day, like me. You know what I mean? And I think that was part of the reason. You give this money to people who absolutely need it. Notice this guy didn't run to Walmart to buy a TV. Where was he going to put the TV? In a house that wasn't his? He used the money to find housing. Again, I am not necessarily uncomfortable with trying to help people. I'm uncomfortable with giving the government all the power they need to help people, because I don't think what they're going to say is, oh, Stansbury, did you lose your job in the radio business? That's okay, buddy. We got universal basic income coming to you. This is the minimum required it takes to stay alive. Here's your money. By the way, you get to keep your house in Canton. My best guess is, no, I won't. When we fully implement it, you just think you're going to get to keep your own living costs. That's not going to happen. Is this a problem? Is it going to happen tomorrow, the day after, the day? But sooner rather than later, if you are completely reliant on them to stay alive, the argument is going to be, we'll keep you alive. You don't necessarily get to do everything you want while you get to live. Come play some golf with us next month, July 24th, the Stansbury Cup at Raintree Golf and Event Center. Looking forward to seeing you guys out. Your sign-up sheet at WRQK.com. People ask me every year, dude, I'm not that good at it. Neither am I. You're going to be fine. You're amongst friends. This is a good reason to get out, play a little golf, drink during the day, have some fun, win some cool stuff. We'll start to release more details on some of that as we get a little closer to the date. You and I had been talking about recently. We were discussing Denver's Universal Basic Income Plan. Now, this started, I believe, in 2022. I remember talking about it. And as a man was living in his car while gainfully employed. He was working as a chef in a restaurant, cook. It is a lot of it, but it's not all of it, right? And so what they found out is 45% of people who they gave this money to now have a place to live. There was no restrictions on the money whatsoever, meaning they didn't have to spend it on housing. They could spend it on whatever they wanted. That's what part of the system was, is they wanted, what will the rats do in the lab, right? That's essentially what they were trying to figure out. Let's give them the money. Let's see what they'll do, right? Because it's a little different than like pandemic payments in the mailbox. Plenty of people were still working, or if they weren't working, maybe they were still being paid by them. And so you gave people some bonus money, and what happened? Televisions were flying off shelves. I remember saying I donated some of my pandemic money because I was like, what the hell do I get this for? I mean, I came to work every day. What the hell are you giving it to me for? Now, did I donate all of it? No, so don't be clapping for me too hard now. I mean, because some of it I invested. Thank you, NVIDIA. And I kind of did it that way. We were kind of talking about
I don't think we'll be following him.
I have said for many, many years, I think we're on a collision course with universal basic income. Not that I necessarily agree with it, but I think if we keep erasing jobs and we keep putting people on the planet, then I don't know how those trains don't collide at some point. I could be wrong. There could just be a variable I'm not thinking of. Happens all of the time.
That's on that hill there.
Dwayne in Ashtabula listening, and he's reached out the way he normally does. And he has viewed this subject matter very differently than I have over the years. And I'm willing to bet a lot of you are going to agree with his point. So I wanted to bring it up because it's interesting.
Yeah, I got right about it.
He doesn't think universal basic income is going to be the end game. What he thinks UBI is, and he could be right about this, what he thinks that could be is, it's just the bridge between the system we had now and the system that will be implemented down the road. That there are going to be sweeping changes. This is just a step in how we get there. Well, that's interesting.
We hit the bird?
No.
And with me not taking the minute to think about it that way, and welcome to conversations, that's what makes them interesting, right? You might be right about that assessment. I still worry it leads to less freedom for me down the road. I was making the point, look, if you're completely relying on them to give you the money to stay alive, then all of a sudden they get to decide how you live. Now, some of you are snickering at that or dismissing. But I think I can use my position here at Rock 1069 to prove that I'm right about it. What do people think about shows like mine? Well, I get paid by a corporation. So I'm bought and paid for. They have control over me. He'll never talk about this because of this. That's what you think, right? So you think the government is going to handle that kind of power better than a CEO will? I guess what I need to see is any instance of that ever in the history of man. I guess that's what I would have to see. I maintain that I think it's going to lead to less freedom for you. I think what it's going to lead, I mean, we've already seen other models of this around the world. Instead of you having your own living place and separate and fences and all this stuff, it's like 50,000 people in a building that's stacked up to the sky. There's one of these that goes viral every couple of months. Oh my God, look at it. Everybody lives here. All your shopping is here. In the video, it literally says, the perfect place to live because you never have to go outside. How dystopian is that? That sounds horrific to me. That doesn't sound like I never have to go outside. It kind of sounds like what you're about to tell me is I don't get to go outside, right? Outside, you don't need it. You're a vault dweller now. You don't need that. That's for you Fallout fans out there. That's for you Fallout fans. I worry that's what's coming down the road with it. But I have been called an alarmist before. And I would have to imagine that occasionally I will dip my toes into alarmist territory. A lot of people feel like this sounds like communism. I think it could lead to what some of the downsides of communism are. I would agree with that. I'm not sure it's that at the onset of it, but I think it could lead to some of that. You know, Dwayne continued his point by saying, dude, you keep talking about AI taking jobs. And it probably will. Because why do you think humans are going to control the government in the future? Well, that's even scarier, if you ask me. I think the AI programs running, because I think that is what's going to happen. I don't know if you and I will be alive to see it, and I hope I'm not. But I think this is at least on the list of possibilities that could come down the road. Right? I have said, starting back 10 years ago, while starting to host this show for you, what have I said? We are going to think piece ourselves into an awful way of life. Well, you know, secretly, and, you know, when you start to think about it, it really goes back to this. And really what we got to do is we start here. The bedrock of the problem, Stansbury, is really this. Right? We're going to do that. And I believe one of the next versions of that could be is we go back through history, we start to look at what everybody has done while being a human and being in charge of things. And the argument will be from the younger generation, as they're already out there arguing for less freedom for all of us anyway, because America bad, right? Like they're already doing it. Hopefully some of them will grow up and realize, oh no, I was an idiot when I was 19. Hopefully, fingers crossed, please Lord, right? Like hopefully that will happen. But eventually those kids could argue, yeah, you know what? Human beings throughout history, they've just gotten it wrong every last time. Give it to the machine. I do worry that that could be a thing. I worry about the generation. Now, why that might be a little unfounded is that's what his dad's generation thought about his. And you know what they say, don't you? Something like 85% of the things you worry about never end up happening. And this might be one of those. This could easily be one of those. But it does worry me. I am encouraged, though, that after giving people some money, with no restriction on it whatsoever, that what we found is 45% of these people are not what we talk about online. Just going to throw more heroin into their arms or do whatever the hell the thing is that we want to look down our nose on. That 45% of these people were not that. They were trying to get themselves ahead. Now, much like paying $25 an hour to a certain industry of people to get them a livable wage, universal basic income will eventually just raise prices too. And that is where the push and pull will really come. Because I think that's what happens is like, well, yeah, I mean, yes, retailers are going to raise prices. But that's not what we're doing. We're giving you the electricity, we're giving you this, we're giving you that, and like we're giving you the money to pay for that. Meanwhile, you could just give us the electricity and make it possible where you just pay the electric company and we don't have to. But then again, you give them control of that. It's like, you see that story out there right now? They're telling, by the way, when they start giving you the money in the mailbox, those won't be requests. Not going to comply? Probably $1,000 per month, and 45% of those people ended up finding housing after this had been rolled out. After saved Denver, they say $589,000. It was just under $590,000. It out full form and what could happen and the overreach that the government will take, where it's like, well, we're paying you, so guess what? We get to decide everything now. We're no longer requesting that you don't use that. We're now telling you you can't. You took our money. Right? That's kind of what I see happening down the road. But I could be wrong about it. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm right. We were talking living wage also, and Jeremy says $19 an hour is the minimum living wage in Ohio. Could you even imagine trying to live on $19 an hour? It would be very, very tough. I will not deny that at all. And I am more open to UBI than most people. By that I mean I don't necessarily love the idea, but I do think we're on a collision course with it. I don't see another way out. But it could just be that I don't see it. I mean, it could just be as simple as that. This may be a newsflash for some of you, but I'm not the world's smartest. I mean, I probably hold the title for Canton. But, like, world? Probably not, right? And so, like, that's fine. So maybe I'm just not seeing the thing. Because God knows I get plenty wrong. Like, let's talk about that right now, as a matter of fact. There was an issue here in our town, here in Canton. Not all of you are listening here, and I appreciate that for anybody listening outside the region via iHeartRadio and anywhere else. Thank you. But something happened here, and we had talked about it. And I had said, I'd snickered at it and said, this won't do much. This feels like, hey, look, we're doing something, but we're not really doing it. And what that was, we were looking to combat part of the homeless problematic issues that happen here in Canton. And we, according to some people here, had a real problem with panhandling, asking for the change in the light. And so what came about of that was Canton decided to put some money into a program to erect signs where this was happening. And people, and I even think, if I remember correctly, I was like, well, I don't know what this is really going to do. There's no speeding signs and people drive 80 on the freeway every day. What is this really going to do? And I wasn't sure we would see a change. Now, what I'm going to tell you right now is anecdotal, meaning it is only my experience. And so I don't know that this is the experience of the city, your experience, or whether or not this will be this way long form. But I, like you, I would imagine, use the same freeway exits every single day when I leave work. When I drive home, I'm in the far left lane, right next to the sign, getting ready to make my left. I look over at that sign. You know what I haven't seen at that location since they put that sign up? Ramp at this location every morning since they erected those signs. Now again, anecdotal. I'm telling you about one freeway exit I avoided before. I'm willing to bet I occasionally can make it tougher on some of you. But I was very critical of that. Other people were too. We all that got put up here in Canton that are talking about how panhandling and asking for the change in the like is not legal. I don't know what this is going to do, but let's anecdotal about leave to tell you things for the next day. So I'm not out there riding around. I'm not driving around. So, however, more than a few Canton police officers listened to the program. Thank God. And a few of them have reached out via the text line, 330-450-7625. One of them says this, and I will leave him named. Stansbury, I heard you talking about it the day you talked about it when they got announced. And I was kind of like you, even as a law enforcement official. What is this going to do? What are we going to see here? He claims, and I would imagine he's telling me the truth, he's telling me it works. He said he would have bet his money the other way, but it works. They're seeing reductions of it all over the city. Because what a lot of naysayers will say is they're just going to migrate, which I don't think is necessarily a crazy leap in assessment, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be right. Welcome to assumptions, making an ass out of you and me, right? Welcome to that. Just because something is easily assumed and it feels like, well, yes, that's of course logic, does not mean it will shake out. Is it a temporary fix? Meaning once they're up 3 years, nobody cares about the sign anymore. That could still be out there. But they at least now seem to be improving. I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you. They cleaned up the exit I use. It seems like it works. I've been talking about it for a little while. Many people are writing in. I am yet to get a message, and that's not that people aren't thinking it. Maybe some of you are, but I'm yet to get one that says, oh, dude, that has not been my experience at all. They must have left your freeway exit and all moved to mine because I see it every day still. I don't have that. What I have is more and more people. You know what I just got? Susan just wrote in at 330-450-7625. This is an interesting point. She goes, this is one of those things, I noticed a difference but didn't know what it was. She said, I was driving home, I was going to think, it was like, something's different, I can't quite put my finger on it, then here you are talking about it. She's like, then I stopped to think about it. I have not seen anybody begging for change at my exit since those signs went up. You're right, she said. Now again, I would be right for her experience. I might not be right for yours. But what Canton PD, at least some of them, it's not an official statement from the police department, allow me to say that, as I know how people listen to the radio, kind of half in, half out sometimes, allow me to say that it's not an official statement from the department, who are telling me, who listen daily and write in about plenty, who are telling me, no, man, we're seeing massive improvements with this. It's working. I'm as surprised as anybody. Where it's like, dude, I know I'm not supposed to do 90 on my way to work every day.
Would be no problem.
Some of the data tells us signs up in other cities and they've seen reductions. And I remember leaning on that. I think it was Seattle. You'll have to excuse me there. I'm not sure I'm right on the city. But I'm pretty sure that's where it was. Where it was working. And I was like, is it? Oh, this kind of feels like we want to spend some of this more than I thought. Because I'm a pessimist that doesn't think much about my fellow man. Like, I honestly thought that's what that was. But now it's like, well, how it was going to go, made a little bit of a speculation, ended up being wrong. And you know what? This is one of those times in life where if this is going on, I'm happy to be wrong. I want to be wrong about stuff I think is going to go sideways and bad for everybody. I don't think people understand that. When I'm making predictions that are going to be awful for you and I, there is part of me in this room every day that is, has these fingers crossed, like, please let me be wrong about this one, man. Let's play some golf together next month, the Stansbury Cup at Raintree Golf and Event Center on July 24th. You can get your team signed up today, whether it's a twosome, foursome. We'll find a way to get you out on the course. Head to WRQK.com to get signed up. Looking forward to seeing you guys there. So the Lakers have hired another head coach, as have the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers went with Kenny Atkins. And I'm going to talk a little Lakers here because their coach went a little viral and has been doing so for a little while.